sub-games of Magic where it's like, okay, play this card. Now you're playing a game underneath the table. It's called Enter the Dungeon. Literally, it's called Enter the Dungeon. You're playing a card game underneath your table now. If you win that card game, you get, like, extra life for the actual card game.
I heard about there being other special cards, too, where it's like, ask the first stranger walking by if they like squirrels.
Yeah, actually, that's a card.
Yeah.
That is a card. Or the one that's, the one that you just high-five people. You get 5 seconds to high-five as many people as you can. Every single time you high-five someone, you get a certain amount of life. Or a card called Side Quest, which is pick up one of your creatures, put them in another game, wait out a turn, you get your creature back. If they survive their side quest, they come back with an extra 2+1/+1 counters. It's ridiculous. And none of those cards are legal in, like, any other format. But it's the kind of thing that, like, this is why I love the holiday season. It's the kind of thing I can just slam down with, like, a bunch of people. Just get a bunch of beer and just be like, guys, we're playing Unstable. Let's fucking go.
It's also the kind of Magic the Gathering for a person who's been married to the game for a long time and they just want to spice things up a bit.
It's the kind of dumb humor that, like, me and my friends get, but, like, never a set I would play with you guys because the shit is confusing if you don't understand it, or, like, the jokes won't land. It's like a comedian's comedian. It's like how John Mulaney's even funnier to people who understand how, like, stand-up comedy works. So when you get it, you're like, holy shit, that's also funny, but that's also working against all of these other conventions. Oh my god, that's even funnier. It's that kind of thing. It's like slapstick versus, like, political comedy.
All right.
Yeah, it's very nuanced. So Ben, what have you been playing? In the nearly year it's taken for us to have you back
we're not
on the
even
show.
Counting down. Apparently, we
No,
don't care.
we're just here now. Welcome to the Stinger. We just talk.
Yeah, well, welcome to the podcast before the podcast.
Well, John edits, so it's not my problem.
Yeah, not really. You're not wrong.
Oh God, what are
This is where John, like, edits in a note for himself to be like, also cut this part.
See, I guess for me, like, I've been flipping gross. I've been flipping back and forth between Breath of the Wild and the new Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey that came out.
Oh, there you go.
Because I fell out of Breath of the Wild for a long time because I got stuck on a particular dungeon, and I just, by the time, like, I got stuck, I didn't play it for like 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I picked it up, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I forgot what the plot was.
I forgot how to play a game.
I kinda like, that's the problem with big open worldy games. At least for me, is like it's happened with Skyrim. It's happened with all the Elder Scrolls. It happened when me and my wife played Divinity.
That happens to me with New Vegas. Every time I try and jump back in, I'm like, okay, what the fuck was happening the last time I was playing this game?
So Fallout 4 suffers from it, and the thing is, like, there's so much to do that the thing you're supposed to do is not an attractive option.
No, it's just so boring by comparison.
Well, like, Fallout 4 suffers from this very heavily, where the main story, you're supposed to find your wife and your child who you met for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And then you're supposed to give a fuck, and it's like, nah, I'm good.
That's why
fine.
That's why I like New Vegas, where it opens with just a guy shooting you in the skull.
Right.
For doing your job, and you're like, well, great. Yeah, I kind of want to head to New Vegas, but that's also where the guy who shot me was, so maybe I'm fine. Maybe I'm fine until I get weapons and things.
I mean, all of these games run off the same kind of problem where it starts you off and it expects you to be immediately invested in what the character is supposed to be invested in.
Right.
And it doesn't really work. I think Breath of the Wild is great about this because you start off the game literally with amnesia.
Yeah.
You don't know anything except you're hearing a voice in your head and you meet some old man who's like, hey, go do some stuff.
I mean, that's how Dark Souls 2 starts, is you're slowly going insane from the dark side, and an old woman is like, you're going to go to a place, you don't know why, you don't know where it is, but you will murder everything there, and you still won't remember why. Enjoy! And then you fall into a whirlpool, wake up, and you're in Drang Lake, and you're like, alright, I guess I'm gonna kill everything.
Yeah, it's you know, like, as much as I appreciate games trying to give like a background, like a narrative story, like, if just tell me what to do, just make the first thing, like,
just give me a good objective, damn it.
give me a objective, like, quite honestly, like, it's
kill 5 rat roaches.
I was gonna say, that's what's good about the new Doom is, like, What's your objective? You're the Doom Marine. There are demons. Here's a shotgun. Fucking go.
Right. The principle is the same. Like, again, like with the newest Fallout, like, it's just one of those, like, find your son. Like, that quest won't go away until you beat the game. That's too vague of a thing.
No,
like,
that's
you have
really
your subplots
obnoxious.
and your subplots, but, like...
Kill demons is a much simpler thing because there are always going to be demons in front of you in the new Doom.
Right.
I feel like Fallout 3 actually did a better version of Fallout 4's plot, where it actually... There is a period of time where you build an investment with the father before he disappears. Like,
yeah,
fair.
That intro's slow, though.
That intro's real slow.
I mean, it gives me an idea for, like, it'd be cool to play a game where you think you're doing just a life sim kind of game until about, like, the halfway point.
Where it suddenly becomes an action adventure and you're like, oh god, I guess I'm here.
Suddenly nuclear war happens.
Oh, fuck.
How has that not been done? That's gotta be done by
that actually
something.
sounds pretty entertaining. I'd play that.
But at the same time, like you're doing a hard genre switch in the middle of your game. Like that's
but
not gonna.
Yeah, but like Pony Island did that.
Yeah, but Pony Island like
Also,
like,
wasn't like a AAA title.
that came out. Was that last year that came out or this year?
I think it came out last year. Yeah. Have you ever played Pony Island, John?
No, I haven't.
You should play that.
It's fucking.
It's
fun.
not at all what you think it is.
It sounds fun.
It's super
really
great.
entertaining.
Yeah.
But the game consistently is just like not at all what you think it is. It is phenomenal. I heard Doki Doki Literature Club does the same thing. Where
Yeah,
it's just like
John and I
not
were
at
talking about
all
that
the
separately.
thing that you think it is.
See, yeah, I was under the impression, and I haven't seen anything, so I can't spoil it.
Okay.
Anything, but I just thought it was just gonna be
I'll
like
keep
visual
in mind,
novel anime book, and apparently, like it's a pretty heavy discussion.
It's a psychological horror game nested in a waifu simulator.
Yeah, man.
It's also free. And it's real nuts.
I didn't know it was free.
It's free on Steam.
Ooh,
and it's real nuts.
Ooh, Don and I are going to play that over the break.
Quality insanity.
I would just recommend you give it time. Give it the slow burn. It's going to be a slow burn at the beginning.
Just trust us.
It's like, I believe y'all. Like, it's nice to know, like, there's some games that don't ever stop the slow burn, and then there are some games that, again, like, it's that balance, right? You can't just jump in. It's like, oh, firefight, first 30 seconds, cool.
I would actually want to watch you and Dawn, like, live streaming Doki Doki Literature.
We've talked about...
That would be very entertaining.
We've talked about doing Twitch. We talked about recording, that sort of stuff. And we're not against it. It's just a matter of, again, like, my partner and I are long distance. Like, how do... we could set it up. Like, there's a few streamers that do, like, distance streaming. It's just kind of a giant pain in the ass to do.
I can totally understand that.
But no, it's something it's on our bucket list for sure.
Great. You two would make for a very entertaining duo.
Yeah, there's a reason we got married.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would imagine. No, I just mean like even on camp, I'm like, yeah, no, I'd watch that. Like even if I didn't know you guys, I'd be like, yeah, I'd do that. That's entertaining.
Our relationship's like a '90s sitcom. Like.
You're like non-shitty friends.
It is.
Or you're Seinfeld. Those are your two options.
Like I feel like we'll intentionally pause for a laugh track between our like someone will find this funny. Like
you'll do one of those Jerry Seinfelds where it's like the audience is laughing and you're like,
it's kind of
just waiting.
We do end up
like, stop laughing. Let's keep going.
We do end up posing between our punchlines every now and then.
Just picture moments where the two of you are looking aggressively towards each other, leaning away with your hands on your hips.
God, I'm
going to be super self-aware when I see her again and be like, oh, I'm doing it. Like, I'm hard-facing the camera and be like, Like,
like, honey, what are you doing? No, there's nothing there. Damn it.
I'm barreling the camera, honey.
Just trust me on this one.
Good Lord.
So Breath of the Wild and Odyssey. How's Odyssey been?
Odyssey is wonderful. It's a game that you could beat in an hour, but the full 100% playthrough for speedrunning is about 12. There's so much shit you could do, but it's in contrast to Breath of the Wild where the shit you do takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes each time. Mm-hmm. And it strings together incredibly well.
The whole game is a PhD thesis example of constant positive reinforcement loops.
No, it is. 100%.
So it's a mobile game.
Yes, without
dickish microtransactions. Oh, so it's a Battlefront 2 if they weren't scumbags.
Ooh. Actually, boom! I feel kind of bad.
They're all shitting on EA.
No.
Well, I was gonna say.
I have no special love for EA.
No one does.
I haven't bought an EA game since I can't even remember the last
Mass
one I bought.
Effect 3, I think, was the last one I purchased.
Did they publish the first Mass Effect?
Yes, they did.
Then it was that. That was the very last time.
You didn't even play Mass Effect 2?
No.
I didn't. Well, I tried Mass Effect 1. I couldn't fall in love with it.
Guys!
Stop. Also, stop slamming your hands on the table.
No! No!
So, the thing is, I watched my roommate play through all of the Mass Effect games. I watched Adam play through them. I did not play them. But the thing is, like, back to my point, the new Star Wars Battlefront 2, everything I hear about it, it's supposed to be like the most beautifully cinematic game.
Yeah.
And like the single player campaign is actually pretty awesome.
But it's also a gambling sim. It's also like, you get that
But then there's
without
but then-
gambling
but
sim.
then
That's
there's-
all
but then there's the major sin right there.
But then you have a casino thrown into your single player story.
So even ignoring all like the obvious criticism, apparently like the single player story, like John was saying, like it's incredibly cinematic from what I understand.
Yeah.
But like the plot is all over the place and non-consequential, and it's one of those like if you're a hella lore person, like you read actual books,
so it's Rogue
you do all
One.
the contents. I did see Rogue One, and before
That story is entirely non-consequential.
well, okay, good, because that story is fucking ridiculous.
That story is entirely non-consequential.
But anyway, Andrew, what are you playing?
I'm currently in the middle of, when I have my spare time, I've been, on my downtime, I've been sitting through Bloodborne again. I bought the Old Watchers DLC, and so I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to finally go back and beat Bloodborne, and holy fuck, now that I understand what I'm doing and I've got parry timing down, oh my god, that game is so beautifully smooth. It's amazing. Side note for both of you, since neither of you have played a Souls game. Typically, Dark Souls 1, I mean, we'll do this eventually, because, like, that game is so important in my life that at some point I am just going to chain you to my couch and just, like, force you to play Dark Souls. Dark Souls combat at some point kind of bogs down to shields and then, like, spearing people past the shield. Just, like, it's a lot of blocking.
Yeah.
And as much as I love the original Dark Souls 1, its combat's kind of clunky, and it ends up you get punished a lot for, like, high-risk things, which is fine, but it's also most of your normal actions become high-risk against certain enemies, and that gets really frustrating really quick. I love everything else about Dark Souls 1. It's still a wonderful game, but Bloodborne basically just throws shields out the window. Like, you just don't have a shield in Bloodborne, and it's really weird coming from the Dark Souls world to be like, I have to just be actively attacking at all times? What is this? This is insane. This is actually my nightmare. But instead you get a gun, which is meant for parry timing. So you just shoot the thing before it attacks. It gives you a full opening, and then you do what's known as a visceral attack, which is just a critical hit. And so it's all about timing your shot, taking down groups. It's actually really awesome, but it took a while for me to get into the flow. So I had to reset chunks of my brain. But now I got it. It's pretty sweet. That and Wolfenstein New Colossus, which I haven't really gotten far enough in to be too enamored with. I think it's just because New Order was so good that New Colossus just doesn't feel...
Yeah.
It feels like more of the same, which is fine, but I'm also, like, kind of not as excited about it.
So I've heard it doesn't shine in comparison, where if, like, at best they're equal, but there's been, like, some weird level design choices. There's some weird, like, enemy placements. There's some weird difficulty stuff that happens in a way that doesn't feel fair.
The difficulty spikes have been yelling at my television levels aggravating. It'll be an out of nowhere, where was that guard? How did he spot me? Now the commander's been alerted, and if I kill him, oh, he's too far away for me to kill him. Okay, fuck this game. There were a lot of those moments, especially I just got into Bombed Out Brooklyn, where I just finished the Bombed Out Brooklyn section. That was worse than anything the first game threw at me. It's just so many blind corners and commanders, and there's a lot more tech that they throw at you, and those guns and those mechanics are not built for firing at fast-flying, moving drones. It's been kind of frustrating so far. Still good, but just not as polished.
See, it's why I'm patient when buying anything. Like, I couldn't wait for Odyssey, and Odyssey was just bread and butter. It's just smooth throughout.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but everything else, like, I was just like, I could backburn that till it gets 15, 20. Like, partially because I can't invest myself in a story.
Right.
Like, I don't know if it's just like an attention deficit thing, or if it's just like, if the story doesn't intrigue me, I don't care. Plus, with like my sporadic schedule, like, it's really hard to sit there and be like, I forgot why I care.
Right.
all of a sudden.
This is part of the reason why I want you to play a Souls game, because as good as the story is, it's so nebulous that it almost doesn't matter by comparison. Like, it's there and it's really important, but like, you can get the story by reading item descriptions, and you don't need to physically be there the whole time. You just need to know why you're killing the boss you're killing.
Well, sure, but like, I get my shit kicked in at school on a daily basis. Like, I don't want to go home and get my shit kicked in by my hobby on a daily basis.
I will say, I do remember hearing a great argument online by a YouTuber I was watching about how Dark Souls helped cure his depression.
Oh.
Because, well, not cure, but it helped as a help for his depression. And the reason was, every single time he would crush a boss, it was a reminder that hard work and perseverance are actually rewarded in a world that is built around it. And the real world might not be built around that, but the Dark Souls universe is. And if you work hard enough at it, and you figure out enough of the rules, you can kick that game's ass. And that's actually kind of wonderful for somebody suffering from depression or anxiety.
It's slightly adorable. I'm glad it worked for that particular person.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it'll work for everybody, but I'm like, that's an interesting argument.
It's not invalid. It's not. It's absolutely not. What works, works.
Exactly.
Except for drugs. Avoid.
Yeah, please do not. This podcast does not advocate illicit drug use for mental health issues.
It sounds like you're reading off of like someone holding up like a sign that says like...
There's like someone with a cue card.
I am not holding up a giant cue card right now.
Please rescind Ben's potential statement about... Also, that's illicit drug use. Take whatever medication you need to fix your brain, people.
Oh, don't use the category.
All right.
That's edited.
Anyway.
Sorry, John.
John, what you playing?
Nothing. 3.
Fuck. 2.
Wait, I'm starting this?
Say 1.
1. It's been a while.
Hi, I'm John.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ben.
It's Ben.
Ben's back.
I mean, if you didn't realize for like the fucking 14-minute preamble of this episode.
Hey, we've done that more than a few times.
I
just
got
you
back
and me.
from space.
Yeah, Ben's back from space, also known as being way too good at being way too focused on actual important things like school.
Yeah, well. Anyway, I'm here, and I haven't seen an Empire.
You have not seen an Empire.
Ben has not seen an Empire, and it has become our duty, Andrew and mine, to make sure that Ben watches all the Star Wars.
And we're actually perfectly in time because Last Jedi is this week.
Mm-hmm.
So, I won't see that till like probably 5 years from now. But
so
yeah.
enjoy not seeing that until 2022.
Last Jedi is...
When eventually Disney has gotten another trilogy started, and I'm going to want to throw a table at them.
Fair. Yeah, so Last Jedi, day of recording, Last Jedi comes out this week.
This Friday.
Well,
yeah.
technically, I could get a ticket to see it on like Thursday afternoon.
Yep, 2 days out.
Because it's literally like opening weekend is just like a myth now.
Yeah,
like it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, they stopped doing from what I heard, they stopped doing midnight showings because they couldn't get enough people who were working the next day. So they started doing 8 p.m. showings the day before. So opening weekends are entirely just a goddamn myth.
See, in my mind, like it's just like Cyber Monday. It's just like Black Friday. These things go for a week now.
Yeah.
Now it's not opening weekend. It's the week of opening.
Or also you can do what I do with Black Friday, which is understand that those deals are just going to happen like as a regular deal in a month anyway, and just wait it out.
You should apply this rule. It works out well for Black Friday. It works out well for new releases. For Black Friday, the best deals are in April. Because they're lower than what you're going to get for Black Friday, because you see an exponential increase in the price, and then you see this drop, and I'm air quoting super hard.
Yeah, where
that
it just
puts it back to the price it was in April.
When those are artificially created prices anyway to make you buy something. Yeah.
So the same thing goes for movies, where like you have this hype, but the movie doesn't change between opening weekend and whenever you see it.
No.
Let's put April in quotes for the time you see it.
All right.
And it's fine. Like, because I don't want to bother people who have to work on midnights at movie theaters. Like, that already sucks. Like, you don't get home till 3 and you probably kicked out a bunch of teenagers for blowjob parties in the theater. Like, it's not fun. Like,
I mean, in this case, lightsaber play.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw Twilight at midnight. I know what the fuck happened.
Oh, yeah. Okay. A Twilight party's a little
Jesus
bit different.
Christ. Okay, let's dial this back to normal here. So what do we do? So for those of you who weren't here last time, first of all, watch the other episodes. Second of all, Ben has never seen Star Wars.
Yep.
And it has become my and John's job to make sure that he sees every single Star Wars movie, except for the prequels.
Yeah, we don't
like
speak
those.
of them.
We don't talk about them.
They're
but
like the Scottish
he's going to
play.
see every single one of the original trilogy, and then we'll probably get him to watch the new trilogy if he happens to enjoy it, and he decides to do it of his own accord.
So I was talking to my wife about this, about recording today, and I was like, yeah, I'm seeing this, like, the fifth movie, and she's like, what does that mean? I was like, yeah, the second movie, that's the fifth.
Right.
And apparently we're not watching the prequels, which is just 1, 2, and... I get what prequel means.
Let me break this down for you. I'm going to do this just so we don't have to explain this, because this is actually relatively simple. So, Lucas came out in 1977 with Star Wars.
Right.
At that point, it was not called A New Hope. It was just
Star Wars. Right.
And then this was not Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. It was just The Empire Strikes Back.
Really? They didn't subtitle it.
In 1980. And then Return of the Jedi came out in 1981.
Okay, I'm going to rewind just a little bit.
Yeah.
When Empire Strikes Back debuted in theaters in 1980, that was the first movie that had the crawl with a number on it.
Right.
That was the first time, and it was Episode 5, which confused the fuck out of everyone.
No, that can't be right. Really?
I've refreshed myself right before we recorded.
Shit. Wow.
So everyone was really confused until 1981, when they re-released the first Star Wars in theaters again and added the A New Hope to it.
Okay.
So then in 1983, Return of the Jedi comes out.
Okay.
And then the trilogy was over for a long time.
So since 1981, when Empire came out?
1980 is when Empire came out.
Okay, so ever since 1980, it's been episode 5.
Got it.
So 4, 5, and 6 are the first 3.
No, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But communicating that is...
Oh, it's very hard.
Difficult.
And then the prequels came out in 1999.
Yes.
1999, 2002, and 2005.
That tracks for me, I believe.
And that is Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. And we don't talk about those because they're real bad.
Oh.
They're real bad.
I will give credit where credit is due. They are visually tour de forces for their era. The visual effects were great. The sound was great. The lighting was fine.
The acting was bad.
The acting was bad and flat.
The story is trash.
Essentially, at this point, like, George Lucas has never been a phenomenal director. But at this point, he was able to get some really top-billed actors to be in his films.
And he was also swimming in money. And the difference was, Lucas is one of those directors who wasn't swimming in money because he was talented. He was swimming in money because he came up with a concept so awesome that pop culture latched onto it and wouldn't let it the fuck go.
Gotcha.
In a lot of ways, Star Wars was the beginning of when the nerds took over.
Yeah.
It was like the right time, right place, perfect movie to cause that to happen.
And the issue is that Lucas is a bad director and he's a bad writer, but because of his fame and fortune, no one would tell him no.
Gotcha.
And so there was no editor on the script, and people just went with his atrocious ideas.
Got it.
And things just kind of stumbled into stupidity.
So it's the David Cage of movies.
Actually, yeah, that's a really good comparison. Basically no one would tell Lucas no, and then they didn't have editors on his scripts, and they didn't edit his films all that much, and he's a really bad director with actors, and so the actors didn't like his work all that much either, and they didn't put effort into it. So the whole thing kind of just fell apart. Like, looking back, at the time they were fine, but like the effects they spent so much money on were restrictive to the actors and their ability to do things, since they were just staring at green screens. But then you can't emote against a green screen. And combine that with the fact that no one really cared, and the whole thing just kind of fell apart. So we don't talk about those ones because they're real bad.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then 7 came out 2 years ago, and 7's actually quite good. And then Last Jedi looks like it's going to be pretty solid. So,
but let's go back to what is considered to be probably the best film in the entire Star Wars saga.
Arguably. Yeah. It's actually, no, it's the best film in the Star Wars saga, and it's arguably one of the best films ever.
Yeah, I believe Empire. Actually, Empire Magazine, 2008, their top list of like 100 greatest films of all time. Empire's like number 3.
Empire Strikes Back is, here's the thing, Empire Strikes Back is considered a good movie, not just a good Star Wars movie.
And so the reason for that is, although George Lucas helped pen the story for it, he didn't write the screenplay, he didn't direct it. It was handled by other people who were far more competent than him, because his role in that movie was he wrote the original script treatment for the film, and he handled the finances of the movie. He paid for the whole thing out of pocket, which is awesome.
Yep.
And as well as some sizable loans from like Bank of America and stuff.
And then ILM did all the effects. Lawrence Kasdan, the guy who penned The Last Jedi, and I think and The Force Awakens is the guy who penned Empire.
Yeah, so
really good screenwriter.
Lawrence Kasdan kind of became the story holder. What would you call that? The
lore master?
Yeah, sort of like
lore master. Yeah,
yeah. He became like co-lore master with George Lucas for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This is pretty much when everything is firing on every cylinder. This is everything that could have gone well for Star Wars happening at the same time. Everyone's coming out of the gate from the success of the original.
Okay.
Everyone's in the top of their game, and it's literally the best thing they could have made.
So I saw the fourth one.
Yes.
Fuck it. The fourth one.
Yeah, no, we know what you mean.
About 8 months ago, roughly. And that one I thought was okay. Why is this notably better? Like you were saying, like they're running up the hype and the success of the first one, but like what improvements of life, so to speak, do they make in that universe?
First of all, it's way darker.
In Shakespearean terms, this is Act 2.
They are telling a much darker, more serious story.
And this isn't just, it's good because it's dark. It's good because it's dark because they're playing with the themes that they took from the last one. It's taking everything that was built up, all of the lore, all of the ideas, and just saying, what if it worked in this way instead? And spins everything and change it. And now it understands that you've seen the last one, so it's not introductions anymore.
Okay.
You know who Han Solo is. You know who Princess Leia is.
Yeah.
You know who Luke is. You know what the Jedi are.
Right.
And you know that Darth Vader exists. It's taking and Darth Vader and the Empire exists. Mm-hmm. It's taking those ideas and just going deeper. There's no more introductions. There's no more, this is this person that you've never seen that's going to be really important. It's just, no, you know the main characters, fucking dive. We're just going. Mm-hmm. And it's so much more interesting because it doesn't have to, because you were complaining about that on the original episode, I remember, where it's like, it's a lot of introduction. We spend way too much time on Tatooine.
Yep.
That was actually one of your main complaints.
That's actually my complaint as well. We spend way too much fucking time on Tatooine.
Because you have to introduce everything. And that's the issue with Act 1 in any trilogy, is you have to spend all that time making sure that everybody knows what's going on. Empire is all the payoff that you wanted from New Hope in one film.
Okay, I mean that's a lot of build up, or that's a lot of like expectation, I suppose.
Oh no, I know, but like,
so, I mean, we'll see that it's true. Like, I guess I remember very vividly, and it's probably one of the key scenes. Like, I bitched about this heavily, that the Alderaan blew up, and there's no emotion.
Yeah, just no one talked about it. Like, it's like, all right, fuck, it's dead now.
So it was really disconcerting. It was one of those like, oh, like we don't care, fuck it, all right, sure. So I'm curious to see how, because now you have the idea of Shakespearean stuck in my head. It's like, all right, cool. Like, what follows that? Like, right. I guess, like, or like, what? Not so much what's worse, but like, why do I now care about things that I maybe didn't the first time?
That's fair.
And I understand, like, it's all introduction, it's all this and that. I'm always coming into stuff as skeptic, though.
Do you know anything about Empire? Come to think of it, Ben.
Damn near nothing.
Okay.
Is that the one with the Luke, I am your father, or is that the next one after that?
That is this one.
That is this one.
That
okay,
is
cool.
this one.
That is
I will say that much.
That is a thing I know.
There you go.
And
so you do know that scene exists.
Yeah, I know the scene exists, and I know it's existed for 27 years, but I never understood the context or...
Okay, 37 years, actually.
Well, I'm 27.
Oh.
So as far as
I'm from 1980, I'm like, Ben, you're off by 10 years.
No. Like, the universe started on my birthday, 0.
That's how that
Everything
goes.
else fills in.
It is actually the year 27, everybody.
Wait, Ben, are you an only child?
No.
Okay, because that would have totally tracked.
Solid.
No. Yeah, no, not even a little bit.
So you know that exists, and you know that is.
I know that exists, and that's about the extent I could tell you about the plot. I guess for me, like,
we can't do a Ben rambles for another 10 minutes to explain a movie.
No,
I kind of want him to,
but like how? Like, because here's the
like
bit.
if you guys literally know ground.
So here's the bit, right? Is that in the last movie, planet blows up, and then people blow up the thing that blew up the planet.
Yes.
Like, at what point is it revenge of the Empire? Like, they just lost a weapon and killed billions of people. Like, they're not on the losing end of this supposed Star War at all.
No.
Like, I don't...
So, actually, question for you. What do you think the plot's going to be? Not a Ben attempts to explain the plot. Where do you think this is going?
Well, at some point...
or what would you like to see happen?
That's a better way of putting it.
Okay,
5 minutes, what do you think's going to... What do you want to happen?
5 minutes?
No, not literally 5 minutes.
50 seconds, maybe.
Fair.
Ben, just
what do you think's going to happen?
I want you to vamp the plot that you want.
Actually, yeah, that sounds entertaining. Go for it.
You're going to vape the plot.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So, all right.
So, I, like, legitimately, like, I feel like I have no groundwork to really base off of. I feel like, at this point, maybe it's the cast from part 1 continuing to go after the Emperor and the Empire in this one, question mark?
Stop looking at us to see if you're right.
We're not going to say a thing.
I'm not going to stare at the wall like an idiot. But,
Fair enough. But we're going to do our best to not emote responses.
So, like, maybe it's that. I'm trying to figure out how you get from, like, the battle scene to this, like, how Anakin gets involved with Darth Vader and how that all pans out. It feels weird. I feel like someone just, like, in my mind, someone's like, hey, like, Darth Vader has an important message, send, like, a space pigeon. Be like, hey.
Is that to send a space raven? Game of Thrones
like,
style?
it's something like that. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, I know, like, iconic scenes probably. Or, like, if someone YouTube me is like, is this from a Star Wars movie? Like, it probably is. Like, if you show me a Star Trek movie, I'd also probably interchange the two.
Yeah, it's fair. That happens.
Yeah, John got upset by that one.
Just a little.
John just died.
I physically struck a little bit.
But no, it's just one of those, like, I can tell you, like, if I saw the iconic scenes, like, all right, I know that's from a Star Wars. I don't know how they relate. I don't know where.
You don't know from which Star Wars.
I don't know from which Star Wars. I don't know if they're actually important or if they're just kind of like comedic timing points in this one.
Gotcha.
And to the point, this will be really interesting watching it because I've seen that fucking clip of Anakin and Darth Vader.
Luke and Vader.
Well, see, this is going to get good, right? Luke, sorry. Of Luke and Vader. So many times where it's one of those, like, am I going to see it and just appreciate it for the meme it's become in different contexts?
Interesting.
Like, that's the problem with being exposed to pop culture without having the backing of it. It's one of those, like, am I going to take this as seriously as the movie wants me to? Or it's just one of those, like, I remember when that was used in an advertisement.
Side note, I ran into that recently with apparently the Simon and Garfunkel song, Sound of Silence has become a meme recently. The "Hello Darkness, my old friend," and no one else knows the rest of it. And there was a child singing that recently at one of my programs, and I like started filling in the blanks because I know the song for just being a song. They're like, "What, do you know that?" I'm like, "It's Simon and Garfunkel song." No, the meme, and I'm like, "Oh, I hate the internet."
If you can't do it in 30 seconds, I don't care. Thank you, internet.
Not even that, just like taking entire ideas out of context and just being like, that's funny. This is funny, right? References are funny. We're all Family Guy.
I don't know whether to laugh or cry at that.
I broke John, everybody.
No, he's right, though.
Yeah.
It's really infuriating to be like, because I get that, because like now that moment is just, because for me, that was a huge deal when I was a kid, seeing that moment in that section, being like, and then my brain melting. And it's unfortunate that culture has robbed you of never receiving
right.
that.
It's basically getting the plot out of order. Like, I know that's like climax of the scene, if not the movie, if whatever. And it's like, cool, like, I don't, like, how the hell do we get there? And like a lot is like, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of stories purposely do that where they'll show you like the action-packed climax as the very first thing.
Right.
And then they'll edit their way up to that point to be like, how do I get it here? But this is not done on purpose.
No,
it's just me having unfortunate knowledge.
It's just pop culture just tore that out of its original context because it's so iconic, and then everybody uses it in different contexts, and now the moment itself is gone.
I mean, that's why I'm finding it really difficult to come up with a potential plot. Like,
No,
'cause
that's
I get,
fine. Yeah.
well, I mean, it helps when you don't see the movie, but it's one of those, like, I have no idea how we get here.
Right.
At all. Even coming from the fourth one. Like, it's really difficult to figure, like, how did we get from, like, weapon blown up to them meeting face to face? Like, it just seems like a dramatic...
Well, spoiler alert, the war's not over.
Well, okay, yeah, I figure.
Yeah. It's not even close.
Think about it sort of like blowing up the Death Star in the first movie is sort of like you destroyed a giant military installation in a war.
It's a rallying cry for the rebels, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I figured. It just, again, like, the title is misleading where it's Revenge of the Empire.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. Fucking, this will be awesome. Wow, that actually helps. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back, but it's just one of those, like, you're good. Like, you're doing fine. Just build another one of those. It's space technology. It can't be that long.
Yeah, come on, you guys. You probably got a space foundry sitting around. You could space make that space weapon again.
Again,
They want to, but they have to construct more pylons.
Oh God,
Meme culture.
Hey, I got that one.
there you go. I was going for the internal reference to an earlier Star Wars era known as the Star Foundry from Knights of the Old Republic. Get on my level, John.
All right.
I know the
No,
game.
you don't need to understand any of that.
Trust me. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here.
I would say that is a good game, and I do want you to play that once you're done with this little idea we had.
Yes,
It's actually quite a good
yes.
game.
See, this sucks though, because I'm losing like my bar introduction or like my like ice breaking thing, where it's like, or if I'm playing Never Have I Ever, it's always these like, well, I've never seen Star Wars. It's like, oh man, fuck, and then they have to take a drink. Like I don't lose, and now I'm going to lose because I'm becoming smarter
Well, wait.
in pop culture.
I'm sorry we're educating you.
Well, important question. Have you ever seen the Lord of the Rings films?
No.
So you still have that.
Damn it, really?
Sorry, I figured he had it, and I was like, well, after we do this, we'll probably
See,
do that.
eventually those become safe bets.
Is this just going to be us slowly educating Ben on like base level
Yeah,
nerd
Ben
culture?
goes to Middle Earth. Like,
Oh my God, yes! We are doing that next.
Ben throws a ring in a volcano. For some fucking reason. Like, I don't.
It's gonna be Ben goes to Rivendell, then Ben meanders for a while and gets in a war, and then Ben throws a ring in a goddamn volcano. Series over because we're not doing the Hobbit films.
No, The Hobbit is like the prequels, the movies that no one asked for.
They're the we
So
don't
this-
talk about it.
So we're doing the Ben never sees a prequel edition of everything.
It's literally going to be just black. It's just going to be white noise. John is going to plug a staticky CRT into that microphone, and that's going to be Ben sees the prequels. Just for an hour.
God, now I'm trying to think of other iconic movies that I could piss people off. You're like, what have I not seen? And
Ghostbusters.
nope.
Okay.
Yep. Everyone's seen Ghostbusters.
I know the song.
Solid. Nah, that's not bad. That's better than I was expecting. You've never seen The Simpsons, right?
I've seen them in bits, but like the clips that I've seen are just like not.
Okay.
I don't know. Something about The Simpsons doesn't ring strong to me. It just doesn't seem.
You haven't seen the right episodes, I would say.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I hear from a lot of people who
That's
don't.
like
say
on the
thing.
same level of someone saying that they don't like a food, and you're like, well, you just haven't had the good stuff.
You haven't had it.
But in fairness to The Simpsons, yeah.
You haven't seen it, or you haven't had it in Florence.
Have you
Italy.
seen?
You're basically.
Have you seen Seinfeld?
You fucking you like green eggs and ham, like movies and shit. Well, it's like you haven't seen it in the right context.
Yeah,
You haven't had
wait.
this
Have you ever read Green Eggs and Ham?
Yes.
Okay.
So
well,
you know at the end of it, he tries it and likes it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, you
like,
do understand that, like, you're feeding my point, right?
No, but like it's ish 50-50.
Like, maybe it is all about context, Ben. Maybe you do need to watch it on a train.
Maybe you do need to watch it in a box with a fox.
Christ.
Shit. This episode is us just breaking down into hysterical laughter over absolutely nothing.
Well, no,
We're
we're
also
no,
kind of picking on Ben.
well,
Yeah.
we're future mapping.
That is kind of the premise of Ben Sees a Thing, though.
Yeah, when this company takes off to the media conglomerate that it's gonna be, it's one of those like the subfiction of Ben does an X.
Oh my God, Ben, I
Like-
just realized you're our equivalent of an idiot abroad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't even mean that negatively. Just like, it is It is the pop culture version of Idiot Abroad. Is Ben gets exposed to things that he has never witnessed before.
Ben is exposed to shit.
Oh god!
Eventually, we'll go off the deep end and just be like, Ben sees an Aurora Borealis.
And that actually doesn't have any context. It's just his thoughts while we're watching the Aurora Borealis. We just hauled him up to the Arctic Circle. It's fine.
That'd be fun.
That could be fun.
That would be fun.
We'll go on a Norwegian cruise or something.
There we go.
Yeah.
But I'm actually trying to think of like major pop culture entities that you've never been exposed to. Have you watched Doctor Who?
No.
Okay, you're not missing that much on that one.
Yeah.
Damn, you
Brought it up to bash it.
Bring it on, 12 listeners.
You ever seen Sherlock?
No.
Oh, it's terrible.
Ah, fuck you.
It's awful.
We'll get back to that later.
Let's see. Oh, damn it. I'm trying to think of like... Have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Game of Thrones I keep up with.
Okay, GOT. You're on top of it. You're also on... Yeah, you're on top of that.
I'm actually
good.
on
That's
top
good.
of it. I am not looking forward to the next season because this season was kind of rough. It
had its moments. I enjoyed parts of it, but it definitely... The writing plummeted in more than a few areas.
I will say I'm willing to withhold judgment on that until we see how the rest of this plays out.
Fair enough.
So you're all caught up. It's one bitching point I have, and you can edit it.
Hey, yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Pause. Go.
Okay. So, I think it's the last episode where they're stuck on the island, surrounded by Skeletor boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And fucking Daenerys and her dragon comes in and saves them, dragging it. Yeah,
Toast.
we know
Yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why the fuck, if the wall's been holding him out for millennia, why the fuck would you start doing something different?
So, because the plot was contrived for that to happen, and it's really infuriating.
No, but like, what changed is my point.
Oh, what changed?
What changed between the times that the White Walkers came the first time?
So the thought is,
And this time.
and I'll go a little bit of lore on this one. The thought is that Daenerys awakening the dragons is what caused magic to reemerge and thus reawaken the Night King's strength.
But is there any like connection to that?
So Quaithe says in season 2 and in the books that dragons being renewed represents the reemergence of magic in the world.
Okay, sure.
So think about it like almost like a symptom representing the greater thing that's happening. They are the greatest representation of magic being reborn. And so that happening means that the Night King's strength was also resurging, and he would know that a dragon would be reawakened.
So I'll abstract it. Sorry.
No, I will say that would probably be discussed greater in the books.
Yeah, most definitely.
Whereas the TV series is, we need to get the winter down into the south.
Well, they're also running out of time for some of their actors to continually look their part.
Well, also that, but I'll touch on that for a second on John's point.
Yeah.
If you have a TV show production, if you have different mediums of production, you can't. I'm of the opinion that you cannot rely on your viewers to get outside information.
Yeah.
I have what I have, and I don't what I don't. And that connection is really frustrating. It's like in the gaming industry, or for the gaming world, when the first Destiny came out. And we can talk.
Oh, and everything was in cards?
Everything was in cards. And when the fucking loading screen says, go to destinythegame.com to learn about why this matters. Fuck you. Put it in the game.
Go to the Grimoire to read a bunch of flavor text on fake magic cards.
Put it in the loading screen. You have that room. You have those kilobytes of room. Put it there.
And also, I mean...
Fuck.
You know what everyone's least favorite part about the Elder Scrolls series is? All the extra lore laying around. Oh my god, how much people hate that.
My issue, I will say, with Game of Thrones as well, is that because they're clearly rushing production at this point, they're fusing certain characters and character elements, and it's becoming real annoying real fast.
Yeah.
The Greyjoys kind of just got meshed together. There was a Greyjoy who is Victarion, who is what our version of, what's his name? Crow's-Eye. Can't remember his name offhand. Crazy guy. Valyrian Steel Axe. The one who just abducted Yara.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't tell you the name, but I know,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
So, Victarion is essentially what we got from this version of Crow's-Eye. The actual Crow's-Eye in the books is a one-eyed pirate who is fucking insane. And I don't mean insane in the way that he is in the show, where he's like a mad-eyed lunatic with an axe. It's the I am currently calculating and I'm charismatic and calculating, and I'm currently figuring out a way to sacrifice enough holy men to be able to resurrect a dead god to kill everyone. And so like that level of insanity, it's like this deep plot, but he's also a charismatic, smooth-talking pirate. So that's where I kind of start getting annoyed, is when you start bashing people together until you get a plot.
So let me dial it back.
We should probably dive off Game of Thrones soon, because I feel like we can record an entire episode.
This will tie it back.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. Okay,
but
cool,
yeah, so here's the
solid.
bit. This may discuss more about like the genres that I like, or the stories that I like. Is like in that context, or in the context of Star Wars, like it's all realistic in its universe. Sort of like it starts off really nicely, where it's like it's a war between factions. Like Game of Thrones is a war between factions. Star Wars is a war between two particular entities with different motives.
Yeah.
The second you start introducing magic or other like universe breaking rules, or like introductions that like the reason like I hate hand wavy, it's magic stuff. Like that's why high fantasy is harder for me to get into.
Sure. Unless
you establish that from the get go.
When
you mix the two ideas together, you immediately lose like the realism, like the logical, like we're kingdoms fighting for control of the land.
Right.
Versus like, hey, the whole world's gonna blow up. I don't care about which kingdom's blowing up plot anymore, because the magic part should be the more dominating one.
Right.
But this one, the actual like politics of any movie is much more intriguing to me.
Which is why I would say the interesting thing about that in comparison to Star Wars was they did take the time to involve that in the opening plot of A New Hope. Like, it wasn't this is a sideline thing. It is this Force thing is still pretty front and center and involved in this. There are these two wars going on, but this is also right there. Like, one of the main people in charge is choking a dude with his brain. Like, it's there the whole time.
Sure, but
why I would say it's a little bit different from that.
It becomes like forgotten magic.
Well,
right.
I don't because they established that from the get-go.
Right.
They established like this is a thing that this universe is capable of doing, and no one bats an eye at it because it's just a thing that happens.
Okay.
Versus like,
sorry, you were arguing in its defense. I didn't. My bad.
No, not so much that. It's one of those like it fits in the context of what it is.
Okay, now I
like
see.
No one sat there when from the first movie.
Yeah.
From the fourth. Fuck it.
We know what you mean.
I know. But when Darth like force chokes a handful of the soldiers, no one blinks an eye. It's like, what is he doing? How's he? It's like, no, he's just being a raging cockend about it. Like, it fits in the universe, and no one cares, and that's good enough for me.
Okay,
like,
I see what you're saying.
The second the plot changed, like, oh my god, he has magic powers. Like, I'm out. I'm so out.
Tying this back, I remember this being heard in a review of Condemned 2 a while ago, where it's like, you turned a thing about hobos going crazy and like murdering people into suddenly your character is fighting the Combine, and I don't know how we got here.
Yeah.
I guess we're here now.
Condemned started off strong, and then it just kind of ate itself in the process. Like, yeah, it was rough.
I mean, how many franchises have done that over the years where it's like, and now it's Dragon Ball Z powers? I'm like, fuck.
Well, I mean, you run into a problem where it's a lot of these stories were not written to be extended into other things.
Yeah.
And then they run into a wall. But unfortunately, the business likes making money with the properties they already have.
Yeah.
Instead of writing new stories.
Sequelization's a bitch.
And they don't want to pay writers to actually workshop and spend time to make a good story.
Right.
They want to have the new version of the thing out next year.
Well, it's power creep in cinema is basically what
Oh my
it is.
god, that's a great comparison.
Because now you've established that this is a thing that happens. Now, how the fuck do we go from this to this? Like Dragon Ball is a huge example of like,
my god.
oh, now we're Goku X squared.
I was gonna say
whatever.
that happens all the time in shonen manga, where you're just like, okay, we're crushing entire planets.
But that's a genre defining thing. I actually don't mind that. When you go from, like, when your first thing is just two normal karate dudes fighting to now we're throwing actual planets at each other, we've gone too far.
There's something was lost in translation.
A good counting, like, it's totally off, like, kind of as a tangent, but, like, Beavis and Butthead was strong when it ended, and it never came back, except for the one season that it did come back, and that was strong, and it went away again. It ended on a good note.
Like, you didn't go over with what the concept, like, the progression of the concept happened naturally, and it didn't feel forced or change the very nature of the story.
That's the important part right there with Beavis and Butthead as the example. When that came back, they didn't try to reinvent what Beavis and Butthead was. In fact, I believe Mike Judge's quote is something like the world is at a place now where they need this kind of idiocy on TV again. Like, he says something to that effect, where it's like,
it's a solid quote.
Like, if you're going to have a franchise and take it away for a while, George Lucas, I'm looking at you. If you're going to bring it back, don't try to change what it's about. And in fact, if you're willing to get over your own ego enough to understand that you didn't actually know what it was about, what the thing that the people loved about it was, don't do it. Or pay other more competent people to do it.
I will say, tying this back to an episode we did a while ago about the MCU, power creep in cinema is one thing that is really starting to worry me with the MCU. Of Infinity War could either be the natural progression and make everything like we go back to normal after this, or it could break the entire thing over its break the entire thing over its knee, Bane style, and we're just done. We're never coming back from this.
This is weird for me because, and I discussed this with you guys when I talk about wrestling, and guess what? WrestleMania is in 4 months. Get ready, bitches.
The Royal Rumble episode, maybe not an episode, but you and I should watch the Royal Rumble.
We'll get to that. But in one of the episodes, I discussed the price of admission, and it's the price of your ticket and the price of your disbelief, like the ability to suspend that. And that's why, like, it's super weird watching movies in cinema with me, because for me to give up the price of like my disbelief is way harder, like in some cases, where again, like in professional wrestling, like I'm willing to give that up in a second because I know what it is.
Sure.
Like the cinema tries to establish itself in its own universe, where it's like I know in wrestling context, I know it's actors playing a thing on a stage.
I can actually understand that.
This one, like, it gets like in the comic. That's why I'm not huge into comic books, particularly Western ones, where it's one of those like, how is a bloke with a bow and arrow stronger than an actual god who controls lightning? Or Doctor Strange who bends time in universes? Like, how is this a fucking discussion at this point?
It's like when everyone's like, oh, but Batman could win against Super. Like, no, you're fighting a literal actual god who could punch your entire head across the planet and then catch it again. Like, this is not a contest.
Yeah.
It's stuff like this. And I'm hoping Star Wars has done pretty okay because it's done its part to try and stay within itself without going too out of bounds. I harped about it in the last episode about like you have some technology which is awesome, but you don't have this technology that would feasibly be a stepping stone to that.
Right. That's one thing that always got me about the Elder Scrolls franchise too, so I could never get into it, to be like, you've been around 10 million years and the only people able to figure out how gears work are dwarves. Fuck you, game. But this is dumb.
But it's that sort of stuff. And again, like, it ties back. Like, the Force fits in that universe.
Right.
Fine. The technology fits in that universe. Great.
Sure.
The second that starts to spread out, which I have a feeling it may, it's going to be challenging to swallow that.
Fair enough. I think that's an interesting assessment of Empire.
Yeah.
For a movie I haven't seen, I did a real good literary criticism of it.
Well, no, that's a good introduction of, like, I guess it's a good intro to the second form of any universe. Like, I would imagine you'd probably have the same thoughts if we sat through Two Towers, too, which is the second movie of Lord of the Rings. Like, I have a feeling that, like, if we sat you through any movie universe, you'd probably run into the same thing, which is really fascinating, actually. I had never thought about it in that wrestling point of, like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've been here long enough to understand what the hell's going on, whereas trying to sell you in 2 hours, whereas with wrestling you've had God knows how many.
Well, it's not even so much my experience with it. Like, wrestling is camp. You know what? Sure. It's an exaggerated version of real life events.
Right.
Sans some bullshit here and there. Like, going to drag shows is camp. Like, you don't actually sit there and you're like, oh, that's a woman. No, you know it's not. Or you know they don't like, you know, it's supposed to be masculine figures in feminine attire.
Sure.
Playing up the camp femininity of it all.
Right.
Like, you don't sit there and be like, they're trying to convince me that they are women. Like, regardless of whether they identify with the gender, it's like they're not trying to sit there and be like, I'm obviously this person. Like, it's very much like thumb on nose. Very obviously, I know what I am and I'm not what I'm not. And I'm taking the piss out of a lot of this.
Okay, now I think I get it. That's really interesting.
And that's the downside that cinema doesn't have. Is that they can't sit there. It's like, hey, we're making a movie, just so you know. Like, it's bullshit up front. Like, you don't get to have that. With the potential exception of, at the time of recording, the movie about The Room is coming out.
Oh, Disaster Artist looks so good.
Which I think that's going to be kind of like hand on nose as well, where it's kind of like, it's a movie within a movie about a shitty movie sort of thing.
Ed Wood was that way.
Let's not go down that hole right now.
Okay, fair.
but it is like, but it's one of those things where it's much easier, it's much easier for me to surrender my belief if your universe is within reason. The second you break that, or the second it's like, why is this? It's harder doing it in a movie that came out in 78?
80.
80? This one's 80?
This one's 80.
First one's 77.
This one, it's harder to do 37 years later because we've learned so much about how technology does progress. So seeing the things that aren't in the universe that feasibly should be will be difficult.
I can understand that.
I think with that, let's close it out.
Huh?
Yeah. How?
I don't know.
Oh, until we get back at you next time, fam.
Never do that.
Nope, we're doing every episode now.
God damn it.
There is one thing I did want to bring up. Did you ever notice that your door, the wood grain on it, looks kind of like Cthulhu?
Oh, yeah, that's been concerning me for months.
All right.
Oh.
Bye, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.